Hello everyone, I'm Rich Lamont. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. So I know it's been a little bit since I posted another video. Last one I believe was Valentine's Day. Apologize for the delay. Some things have happened. I had to make a little bit of a change. As you can see, I've got a new setup as well, a new office. So anyway, that's kind of why I've been delayed in putting out videos. So more recently I've had some people requesting Rogan flies, more specifically showing the wings. So when it comes to Rogan flies, there really is not a whole lot of documentation on how he actually tied his flies and made his wings. What we do have is some examples, and there are a couple of guys that you can find, on Facebook, in some of the classic salmon fly groups, that they do have some of the flies, and they can kind of really base how he tied things off of how those flies were presented and how they look. So that's kind of how I based this fly off of. This is going to be the Green Parson by Rogan, Michael Rogan. So you can actually find this fly and the recipe on, if you Google the 1902 Cork collection, and you're going to scroll to kind of the tail end, pages 695 and 696, and that's going to be in the Ballyshannom District. You will see Rogan's version of this fly and the recipe. So I've tried a couple of these now just to kind of get it down, and I'm pretty happy with the result. So this is the one that we will be tying today. That is Rogan's Green Parson. I will include the recipe for it on the front page right after this, before I start tying, so that way you guys can kind of get the feel for what materials are needed. The hook that I'm using, I do say this in the video, but this is a Partridge Limerick hook that is a blind eye. It is a size 1. I cannot find these hooks anywhere. I've looked, but these were given to me by one of our fellow subscribers, Frank. I'm not going to mention his last name, but Frank, thank you very much. You know who you are. These hooks are fabulous. They really are a great little hook, and I love the nice vintage look to them. Let's see if you can see that. You'll see it much closer here in just a moment. But yeah, so with that, let's head over to the table. We're going to put the wing together first, and then we'll go ahead and we'll assemble the fly. All right, here we are over at the marrying portion of my desk. Now, the wing on this fly is peacock wing, green parrot, and I don't have green parrot in enough to use it, so I'm just going to use some dyed goose shoulder. Then there's yellow goose, orange, and blue. Now in the instructions it says swan, but goose shoulder is probably the closest to swan that we've got. So these are the colors that we're going to use, along with the peacock and then golden pheasant tail. And you'll see I've got some golden pheasant tails here that are not exactly marrying material, so these are the ones that I use for mixed wings. These aren't in terrible shape. Up here towards the top I can probably use that for marrying some, but the majority of these are, as you can see, they're somewhat rough shape. So now you can find yourself some of these cheap golden pheasant tails on eBay. I think I got, I don't know, 15 tails for, I don't know, 20 bucks, I think. So, and they've lasted me quite a while. So, alright, so to start putting the wing together, we'll start with the natural colors first. And you guys have seen me do mixed wings before. These are relatively similar in construction. When you look at the material list, the recipe, if you will. It just states a mixed wing of. So we will just do a mixed wing. So we're going to go through and separate out these fibers. And as we lay these out, we'll make sure that they are, all the tips are even. As you can see, they're all kind of curved in the same direction. That's kind of what we're looking for. So I'll grab another bit of peacock. And I don't have any specific amount of fibers. It's more about if it looks right. Depends on the size of the fly. Mixed wings use a little bit more than married wings. So I'll put these all right here. One thing with these wings, you've seen in my other videos, I put a lot of color into them, like my Blue Doctor video. With this one, it's more natural fibers that you want to concentrate on. Now I think this is going to be kind of a lot, but we'll look at the wing and we can thin it down if we need to. And this hook is a size 1, so we don't need very long fibers. A little bit of green for the parrot. You want just enough, just enough to add that color. You don't want anything too extravagant. That's enough. Then do the same with the other colors, orange, yellow, and blue. Some broken fibers. Not exactly what we want. Okay. Ultimately, that is our wing set. So now what we'll do is we'll take these and kind of just gently push these together. That one got a little out of whack. Alright, so now we have our two wings, front and rear. And what we'll do is we'll hold them by the base right here and brush them out. That'll help kind of separate the fibers a little bit and keep them from being all out of sorts. You'll also find the shorter fibers, as you saw that green one come out. Alright, we'll keep those bunched up and keep them right here until we're ready to mount the wing. And then I'll show you how we're going to do that. Alright, let's head over to the vise, start the fly, and we'll work on the body. We'll get this all set up in just a little bit. Alright everyone, here we are over at the vise. Sorry if the camera gets a little bit bouncy. I'm trying a new camera mount. So this hook here is a Partridge Limerick tapered eye, size 1. Now I have looked for these hooks. They are very difficult to find. These were donated to the channel by a subscriber. So Frank, thank you very much for these. This is my first time using these hooks to tie these flies. So far I really like them. If you can't find this hook, you can probably find a mustad hook with the down eye and a limerick bend. And just you can break the eye off, maybe file down the shank just a little bit to taper it. But you can also use a mustad hook, 96890. It's an up eye black Japan salmon hook. I think there's some right on eBay at the moment. I'm just getting a solid thread base. And with this hook we can go back a little bit farther. I'm going to go back just a little bit more. Not quite over the barb gutter, but what I'm going to do here is actually tie in the tinsel right there for the tip. Now it calls for a fine oval tinsel, so for this I'm going to use Vivis extra small silver oval tinsel. Here's the spool for it. And I'll give you the model number on it, FT3. And oh, there's that camera wobble. I don't think I like this mount, but if I can make do with it, I will. I'm going to tie that on the back side here just a bit. And typically I do 3 wraps. Let me see, I think I want to go back a little farther. I want to do 4 wraps on this one. Yeah. Okay. I'm actually going to tie this all the way back up to the end of the gut. Then I'll just blend it a little bit better. The way I blend that is the body had such a drastic depression right where that gut ended. So this will kind of help smooth that out just a little. And the tag on this we're going to keep short, and that is red floss. So the floss I'm using is Kyoto brand silk, but unfortunately recently the manufacturer has discontinued making it, so this floss is no longer available. But when, if you're going to look for some floss, I would recommend looking on eBay, or you can go to feathersmc.com, and John McLean has JEC silk, which stands for Japanese Embroidery Company. But JEC is a very good quality silk. Lots of color selection there. I think it's $10.90 per spool. You can get lucky on eBay and sometimes find lots of silk. You can get, you might get lucky with 10 spools for, $30 or something, or $40. But you got to kind of keep your eye out for them. And so what we'll do is we're going to double it over the thread, just like that, and then we'll wind back once over it, just enough to hold it in place. We'll get that out of the way. And that'll double up, and that'll make you a much nice wider band of silk. And just go back to the tinsel and then forward again. And we're just going to go forward just a little more. So this fly is going to be a fishing fly. I'm going to take this out and fish it this spring. Just a couple weeks actually. Well, that was a mess up. I lost thread tension there. Go. So when that happens, don't panic. Just take your time getting everything back where you want it. There. I'm by no means going to make this fly perfect, since I'm going to fish it. And you can see where the thread is hanging. That is where the butt is going to be, as that's where they typically made them on these true classics, I guess you can call them. Okay, so now for the tail, which is golden pheasant, veiled by some golden pheasant tippets and some teal. I've selected a smaller tail. Now, these are relatively small. These are the smallest ones, smaller ones that you get on the head. A lot of tyers overlook them, especially in salmon flies, because you guys, you know, I tie big flies and I tie a lot of show flies, and a lot of those take larger tippets. Excuse me, larger crests. So this one is one of the smaller ones that would be on the head, much closer towards the forehead of the bird. So what we're going to do is trim right along the rachis here. Which will give your thread a little something to grip, but at the same time get rid of that fuzzy base of the feather. Still where I want it. The tippets should be the same. Those are going to be the smaller feathers on the head. So when you're looking at your tippet, you'll be looking at taking one from somewhere up front here. One of these smaller ones. On the smaller tippet, I'll strip away these non-barred fibers. And just take a few from each side. We're only doing a tail veiling. In all honesty, it's probably not even necessary to do a few from each side, but I'll probably just do it from one side. And tie that right on top, like that. And then we need a little bit of teal. And I'm going to go for part of the larger feather just so it has more barring. To me, I think it'll look a little bit better. I'll just take that. Set that right on top. And pull some out. I think that's a little bit much. And then an Indian crow feather. I'm going to use a sub. Now there's many different subs that you can use. You can use one that's made by someone, or you can use a, I'm not going to call it a natural sub, but it kind of is. When you look at a golden pheasant head, look right underneath its throat right here. They don't have quite as bright a red as an Indian crow, but they could pass for a sub. But using a dyed sub by somebody, David Kerr in Ireland, excuse me, Northern Ireland, and Ryan Houston in Ireland, they both make fantastic subs. I use both quite often. So today, I'm going to use one of David's subs. David's a close friend, but also a subscriber. He's also a fantastic fly tyer. butt is black ostrich herl. So we'll just take one piece. When you tie it in, just strip a tiny little bit off of there and tie it in with that fuzzy side, that almost V-shaped side facing upward. And then orient it so that way you can start wrapping forward like this and layer it properly. The shorter you can get for ostrich herl, the better. This one's not overly short, but I don't think the fish are really going to care much. The ribbing is flat silver tinsel, and again excuse me, it's flat silver and the fine oval. I don't have any regular flat silver in this size, so I'm going to be using some vintage tinsel that I have. I also acquired that from a friend as well. Now when you tie the oval on, if your fly is upside down like it is here, you want to tie it on above it. So that when you wrap it, it winds up being on the back side. We're going to go about 2/3 of the way, or excuse me, 1/3 of the way up. And we're going to tie in the light orange. In this case, it's going to be more of a dark yellow. I don't have a very light orange. Again, the same silk. If you do have any of these silks, it's best to wrap them up right away, not leave them out. Wrapping them up right away and getting them back into their packaging ensures that you don't get any dust in them or anything that would compromise their ability to lay smoothly. Again, we'll double it up. Like before, I'm going to go a little bit farther forward so I can tie it off, and then we'll just kind of start behind that. Now the next part of the body is a little bit different. It's a little bit difficult, but it's not terrible if you take your time. So the rest of the body is green peacock. So when they refer to green peacock, they mean peacock sword. So what we'll do is you want the longer fibers, like these. So I'm going to clip these off. I think last time I did 4 or 5 at a time. So I took them from right here, this middle section. These are the ones I have here. Get all the tips lined right up. Tie them in. And once you've got them, I don't know if you can see my fingers, but I'm twisting it, kind of like rope. Tie those off. Trim. And repeat until you get to the front of the fly. There are several flies that are tied like this. The Ondine is one that the whole body is made of peacock sword. I'll have a few more on this one. Right around the 4th turn of what will be the tinsel is when you want to tie in the hackles. So we can use this oval 4. Alright, so I may have gone a little bit far, but we'll tie in the hackle right where we're at, and then we'll adjust appropriately. The hackle is a golden olive hackle. Unfortunately, when I ordered saddle, I wound up getting schlappen. So I found the few feathers that were in there to make this work. And what we'll do is just tie this in at the very tip. And we'll go back for one more. I'm going to leave yourself room for the wing and the throat. And now we just wrap our hackle. Oh, excuse me, our tinsel. Start with the flat. Quite sorry for that bouncing of the camera. I hope that's not translating through and the camera stabilization catches it, but Alright, now we've got that on, we're going to our underwing. The underwing is kind of several parts. One is a rump feather from a golden pheasant, and one is a breast feather from a golden pheasant. Which, if you can't get a pheasant skin, you can get patches. There's sewn patches, but nonetheless, you can get them from, you know, Amazon or Etsy or even on eBay. But finding a whole skin may be a little more challenging and a little more expensive these days. Ever since China's ban on skins. And I'm just picking these out really quick, and then I'll show you the feathers. You want to choose feathers that are small enough for the hook that you're using. So when selecting them, you don't want to choose the really long fibered ones like you typically would for, say, a spey fly of some sort. You want something that's a little bit shorter. Work. Alright, so the rump feather first. Size that up. You want to have it so it kind of overhangs the butt just a bit. And then you want to layer the breast feather right on top. And then next is 2 golden pheasant crests. So again, we're going to use smaller crests. I'm going to wax this, hold these in place better. I'm shifting around quite a bit. I'm going to use some black cobbler's wax. You can get it at feathersmc.com. I believe it's made by William Bailey. And it's relatively inexpensive. I think it's about $5 or $6. When you first get it, it'll be very hard. I do recommend softening it up a bit. You can leave it in the package and sit on it for a while, put it under your thigh. There we go. The other one from your body will soften it right up. Alright, now the golden pheasant crests, again, are going to be the small ones. Just like we would with a tail or a topping, clip away that fuzziness that's on them. Right at the tie-in point. Okay, now the underwing is golden pheasant tippet in strands. Technically it is part of the wing. I'm going to tie it in separate. This may not be entirely accurate, but I feel this is how it should go to get the result that I want. So I'm taking a larger feather, strip sides, and then we're going to lay them over. Make sure you line the bars up on both sides before tying them in. And now we take the wings that we made earlier, they're two wings, and we're going to lay them side by side, front and back. There might be a little bit too much color in this wing, but we're here, so let's go for it. Cinch it down. That messes with the underwing. This wing is too big. And like I was saying when we were putting it together, it might be too much, so we'll just remove a little bit of it. Correct the underbody, or the underwing. Tippet strands have kind of gotten a little disheveled. I know you guys are used to seeing, like, you know, as close to perfect tying as you can get here, or as close as I can get, I should say. But, you know, these flies were designed by these gentlemen for fishing purposes. They were not meant for show and looking pretty, and in fact they were often thrown together rather quickly in comparison to how we do things today. Of course they had the practice and stuff, and I'm sure by now they would have finished with this fly, but yeah, let's try the wing again. Now I'm going to put a little bit of Salire on that. Definitely could be a little better, but I'm going to throw it to the fish soon, so. Get everything here nice and stuck together, and then we will put on the throat. I know it's an odd way of doing it, but I was told that this is the way to do it. So I'm giving it a shot for the first time in front of you guys. I tied this fly last night. I did the wing and the throat in the normal order that I would have, but I guess tying the throat in after the wing is a better way. So we are going to give that a shot. I like doing things for the first time in front of you guys and with you guys. Kind of adds to a little bit of excitement. Makes it a little more fun. All right, I'll let that set up for a little bit here, and I'll be back in a bit.